Hi, welcome to Film After 11. My name's Joshua Zeiber, editor of the Video File Movie and Home Theater blog. Joining me this week is my son.
Joseph.
This is the podcast where I normally have to force my children to watch movies with me. However, this week, Joseph has decided to pick the movie himself, and he has chosen
I picked Titanic.
Titanic. Yes, it's James Cameron's 3.25 hour long blockbuster epic about the smoothest and most fun ocean voyage ever. It's all smooth sailing, shuffleboard, and for drama, a little bit of seasickness, maybe. Does that sound like fun to you for 3.25 hours?
Yeah.
All right, then I guess we're going to watch Titanic, but please don't spoil it for him.
From this moment, no matter what we do, Titanic will founder.
But this ship can't sink.
She's made of iron, sir. I assure you, she can. And she will. It is a mathematical certainty.
Near, far, wherever you are, if you were alive in 1997, odds are you probably saw Titanic. And probably multiple times. Pretty much everyone did. Joseph, you were not alive in 1997.
No.
And nor, obviously, were you alive in 1912. So I am interested to find out, first off, how much history of the Titanic you knew before you watched this movie.
Well, I mean, I know that people thought that it was unsinkable and that it sunk. It hit the iceberg.
Yep.
And not a lot of people survived. They didn't have enough lifeboats.
Okay. Yep, that's all true. About 1,500 people died on that boat that day, and only 700 people lived. So they mention in the movie that they only had enough lifeboats for half the passengers. Only a third of the passengers actually survived.
Yeah, because it said in the movie they didn't put a lot. They didn't put all the maximum capacity of people on the lifeboats.
That's correct. Yeah, and everyone else was either killed in the wreckage when the ship collapsed, or drowned, or the ones who had life vests on froze to death. They're all horrible ways to go. And so naturally, once enough time passed, Hollywood felt, let's make a big blockbuster movie about all these people dying. And let's make a romance out of it too. So that's what happened in 1997, and this movie was a huge, huge hit, to the extent that it is actually the highest-grossing movie of all time when it came out. So, going back to the history of the Titanic, did you know that the wreckage of the ship was not found until 1985?
I knew it wasn't found for a while, but I didn't know the exact year.
Yeah, 1985. Because before then they didn't have the technology to send submersibles that deep into the ocean, which is a very, very dangerous thing to do, much less to get people down there. And they didn't know exactly where it was. So one of the things that was learned when they found the Titanic was that the ship had split in half, which hadn't been known before then. They assumed that it just came down in one big piece after sinking. And so with that knowledge, that made it into the movie. Because there had been previous movies about the Titanic that did not know that information and depicted it just going down in one piece. So that was one of the things that this movie did correctly. And James Cameron, the director of the movie, he tried his best to be as historically accurate and authentic as possible. They researched everything about the ship. They recreated it in considerable detail. Every room that they filmed scenes in was basically what that looked like on the ship. Now, obviously, however, this movie is somewhat fictionalized. The events of the ship sinking were correct, but it inserted some fictional characters, Jack and Rose, the center of the movie, and their romance, which is all just made up Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
So, to that end, what I want to find out from you is, number one, the movies, as we mentioned earlier, is 3.25 hours long.
Yeah.
How did that feel to you? Were you were you engaged for 3.25 hours over the course of this movie?
I felt like I was mostly engaged in the parts while they were on the Titanic, and not so much at like the beginning and end when they were like finding it. I didn't think those parts were as interesting.
Yeah, because the movie actually takes a good 20 minutes to get to the part where they are in the historical period, and everything before that, 20 minutes of stuff, is about people in the then modern day.
Pretty cool, huh?
Thank you for that fine forensic analysis, Mr. Bodine. Of course, the experience of it was somewhat different.
Will you share it with us?
So that's a long time to build up to that. And then the actual ship sinking doesn't happen until halfway through the movie. It's a good hour and a half into this 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
What did you feel about the first half after the part where they did all the modern day stuff?
I thought that it was I don't know if it needed all of an hour and a half, but I felt like it did its job.
Okay. Were you interested in the romance storyline between Jack and Rose?
I mean, not really.
That didn't play for you too well?
Not really. I mean,
Rose, you're no picnic. All right? You're a spoiled little brat, even. But under that, you're the most amazingly astounding, wonderful woman that I've ever known.
As I mentioned, this movie was a huge blockbuster hit at the time, and it was what is often called a 4-quadrant movie, which means that it has something to appeal to just about everyone. It has, the romance stuff on one side, it's got the big action and spectacle on another, and then it also has some historical accuracy and some themes about class differences, because there's the rich people who get treated one way and the poor people who get treated another. So it kind of had a little something for everyone. Even if not a single person didn't like everything in the movie, there was probably something in there that they did like. So so even before we got to the sinking of the ship, if you weren't into the romance, were you into some of the other drama stuff that happened there?
I mean, yeah, a little bit.
Just a little bit, though?
Maybe not. Maybe a little more than a little bit.
Okay. Because I just didn't know if it felt to you like this movie was taking too long to get to the actual ship sinking, which is what people mostly paid to see.
Yeah, I don't think it took too long.
Okay. It was just a little laggy in the beginning then? Is that right? Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen such a flat calm.
Like a mill pond. Not a breath of wind.
Do you feel that you understand why this movie was such a huge hit? Would it be such a huge hit if it was released today?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, it did have a little something for everyone in it. This movie was, as I said, the biggest blockbuster of all time when it came out, and it wasn't topped until 2009, a good more than a decade later. And James Cameron himself beat his own record when he made Avatar, which then became the highest grossing movie of all time, and actually still holds that record somehow. So of the parts, that were because I think every movie needs to have not just spectacle, but also needs to have drama in it. So of that part, there was the issue of the class struggle, the rich people being treated much better than the poorer people in the lower decks. How did you feel about that?
I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting. It probably wasn't my favorite part of the movie, though.
Okay. I mean, because, yeah, interesting, yes, but it's obvious that, the rich people are going to get treated better. I don't think that that's a surprise to anyone, but it was kind of horrible to watch the fact that they actually locked the lower deck passengers in to prevent them from getting to the lifeboats. That's just a historical detail that is supposedly accurate, that is really just cruel.
You can't keep us locked in here like animals. The ship's bloody sinking!
This movie, the ship, rather, when it was built, was said to be unsinkable. Unsinkable. And this was its very first voyage, and it sank. So what does that tell you?
Wasn't very unsinkable.
Well, that wasn't very unsinkable. What does that tell you about the people who thought it was unsinkable?
They thought that it was unsinkable, so they didn't try to take any of precautions or
Yeah.
like extra steps.
Exactly, and that includes the lifeboat situation where they just didn't have enough lifeboats, and
Yeah.
they admit as much up front in the movie that there aren't enough. There was only enough lifeboats to carry at best half the passengers because they flat out didn't think the ship could sink.
A waste of deck space as it is in an unsinkable ship.
Sleep soundly, young Rose. I have built you a good ship, strong and true. She's all the lifeboat you need.
Of the ship sinking, what was the most interesting or exciting part to you?
The part when the ship went, instead of like forward, it just went. Ooh.
Yeah, when it turned vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the famous scene where just people are falling off of the
Yeah.
ship and plummeting. And again, details that are interesting and maybe exciting in a movie, but when you think about them and that this really happened to people, that's a terrible way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other part that I liked was like seeing the parts of the ship and like all the sets.
Yeah, because the movie, as I said, tries to recreate the ship itself in as much detail as it can. James Cameron went to exhausting detail to get all of that information correct. He wasn't able to actually build rebuild the entire ship, but
Would've been cool.
yeah, he did. And a lot of the scale of the ship was very well captured by this movie. Just the pure size of it, and it dwarfed the docks that it left from, and everything around it, and the interiors of the ship were huge, and Cameron had to build those sets in the interior for the interior of the ship, and and it was enormous both inside and outside. So Joseph, overall, how would you rank this movie? If we're on our rating scale of a W to an L, what would you call this?
I'd give this a W.
And the length
Yeah.
was okay for you?
I mean, it was a little long, but I felt like the pacing was fair.
The pacing was pretty good. Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, well, unless you have anything else you want to toss in here, I think we'll wrap it up there. So if you enjoyed this content, please like, share, and of course subscribe.
Please subscribe.
And until next week's episode, our hearts will go on, and I hope yours will too. James Cameron's 3.25 hour long epic about the most fun and most pleasant ocean voyage ever. It's all smooth sailing, shuffleboard, and lots of fun.
Yes.
That sound like a good treat to you?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't sink.
You hope it doesn't stink? I agree. I hope it doesn't stink either.